Thank you, Sacramento. Amen. This is such a nice town. Me and my wife, Carolina, we just came in yesterday, first time in Sacramento. And we've met some fabulous people in Sacramento. I met this young man at the White House during my brother's Keeper initiative. And we hit it off right away. Just a few minutes of meeting each other, you know. And I meet a lot of people, a lot of days, a lot of weeks, a lot of months of the year. That's, every once in a while, God will put somebody in front of you, and you know that you just have a feeling about that person, that they're going to be friends with you for the rest of your life. Jordan Davis was 17 years old, had the world in front of him. You look forward to his first prom. You look forward to him graduating high school. He had his first girlfriend. She was an A student all the way to college. You also look at the first apartment that your child has. You also look at the first car you buy for your child. You also look at the first time he says, "Dad, I need some insurance money." Look at that. And you also look at the first career job that your child gets. How many of us here have children? Raise your hand, please. Almost everybody has a child. And if you don't, you probably have a nephew or a niece. You put a lot of heart, a lot of who you are into your children, because that's what we're here on earth to do. We see ourselves through our children. And our hopes for our family is through our children. And for something as careless as playing your music too loud, that our society has become in such a state that I think I can take your life with impunity. I can tear him from the fabric of your family just because I didn't like the music. Because he was playing thug music. Because hip-hop, rap music has become thug music. And in Trayvon Martin's case, the jury had a disconnect. We don't know who Trayvon is. We connected with Mr. Zimmerman, but we couldn't connect with Sabrina Fulton's child, Tracy Martin's child. And what they should have said is, in America, we have a disconnect. We have a disconnect because they don't want to understand our African American children. They don't want to understand that we came up in an age where my father, I walked this earth for 61 years. I'm 61 years old.
For real?
I was born in Harlem, New York. Grew up listening to the words of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. Grew up listening to words of "We're Not Taking This" in Oakland, California, Huey P. Newton, and all the boys in Oakland, Angela Davis, Educated. Grew up listening to that. Grew up with my father and all the men of my generation. When they went out to the movies, they wore suits and hats. We didn't wear sport outfits, sneakers, Nikes. We didn't wear that. So it was a little different how I grew up, and it's okay to change. Not change with my son's time and the way they, dress. But one thing I want you to know, and I'm going to be very brief, is that ever since our President Obama was elected into the White House, there's been a change in the southern states. A major change. The gun manufacturers are making sure that the NRA has the ear of America. The NRA, which is one of the presidents, the first female president, Marion Hammer, she was at the side of Jeb Bush, the governor of Florida, when he signed the Stand Your Ground bill. She was standing over and looking over him and making sure that he signed that bill. Because Stand Your Ground gives you a chance to say, let's look at the mind of the shooter. Regardless of whether you're right or wrong, whether someone is armed or unarmed, I have a right to shoot you if I think that you may harm me. Even though I'm wrong, all I have to have is it in my mind. And today, friends, the African American youth are in danger. They are in danger because there's a disconnect. When they play their music loud, when they go to the store, when they go to the mall, there's somebody that may think that they're a threat. And that's all they have to do is think that there's a threat. In Georgia, a month ago, they passed a law, that the open carry law, that you can carry your gun on your hip now in the state of Georgia. And now you can go on public transportation with a gun on your hip. You can also go into a bar and have a few drinks with a gun on your hip. So we're going to mix alcohol with guns. And friends, that's what the world we live in today. So right now, it's not just a state law and a problem with the states, it's a human rights violation. And I know in California, people have said you don't have stand your ground, but actually you do have stand your ground. You have in your self-defense laws something called justifiable homicide. And there's a stand your ground statute in justifiable homicide, but they take the mind of the shooter and the victim tells no tales. I told my wife the other day that when I was in Harlem, when I was a little kid, we used to roll tires down the street, big truck tires. And just as it came upon somebody, we would holler out to them, "Watch out!" And the person would look back and jump out the way. And we were 7, 8 years old, we just laughed our heads off like silly kids do. And I'm telling you today, that stand your ground is like that tire. When it's way up on the hill, it's a small little thing that you barely see. And as it gets closer and closer to you and your loved ones and your family, your 17-year-olds, your 18-year-olds, by the time it gets to you, is there going to be anybody there to say, "Watch out," to you? We have to stand up for what we believe, stand up for our kids, stand up for our loved ones, and make sure that this society does not turn into the Wild Wild West. There are more guns right now in America than there are population. More guns than population. In every state, they're saying load up with guns because we are progressing in life, like Indivizible. We're teaching our kids to have ownership. I love to see the mayor have ownership, real estate, and that's what our kids have to see. You have to see pride in what we did in America. When you reach an American book and you say, let's look at the history of America, when I grew up, we knew nothing about the black experience. We knew nothing about what we did. And thank God now, they gave us a month, but we should have 365 days of African American history because we are part of African America. We are part of America. We're not just 1 month out of the year. And I thank you all for having me and my wife here today. And God bless you. You're a great community. I love what I've heard. And you guys, you have fun together, and I like that. Thank you so much, and thank you for supporting Georgia.